The sun was dipping below the horizon, painting the Santa Cruz Ocean in hues of gold and crimson. I sat on the porch of my beachfront cottage, the salty breeze tugging at my hair, my phone buzzing like an angry wasp in my hand. I'd just posted a selfie me, windswept and smiling against the crashing waves, captioned, "Not invited? I make my own waves." The screen lit up with notifications, each one a dagger from my family back in Seattle. Chloe, my younger sister, was first. "Scarlett, you're embarrassing me. Take it down." My mom, Grace, followed. "Stop this nonsense, please." Then my dad, Michael, his words heavy with disappointment. "This isn't about you, Scarlett. Don't make it." I leaned back in the wicker chair, the ocean's roar drowning out the chaos in my inbox. My heart pounded, not with guilt, but with a strange, electric thrill. For once, I wasn't the one apologizing. For once, I was the one making waves. Let me back up. A week ago, I was sprawled on my couch in my Seattle apartment, rain tapping the windows like a metronome. My laptop sat open, a half-finished design project glowing on the screen, but my eyes were locked on my phone. A text from Chloe had just popped up, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. "Hey, just a heads up, no room at my promotion party this weekend. Sorry, hope you get it." I stared at the words, waiting for a follow-up, something like, "Kidding, you're top of the list." But nothing came. Just those cold, clipped sentences from the sister I'd carried through every stumble of her career. Me, Scarlett, the one who stayed up until 3 a.m. tweaking her resume, who designed her pitch deck for the marketing job that got her this promotion, who sent her coffee gift cards when she was drowning in job rejections. And now, I was cut from her big celebration because of no room? I felt something heavy settle in my chest, like a stone sinking to the bottom of a lake. My fingers trembled as I typed a reply, then deleted it. What was there to say? I'd been there for Chloe through everything. Her first breakup, her car breaking down when she couldn't afford repairs, her panic attacks before interviews. I'd wired her $200 for that alternator, no questions asked, with a note, "You got this, sis." I'd spent hours scouring fonts to make her presentations pop, never asking for a dime. And this was my reward? A text dismissing me like I was some distant acquaintance? I called my mom. The phone rang twice before Grace picked up, her voice warm but distracted. "Scarlett, honey, what's up?" I didn't waste time. "Chloe just texted me. I'm not invited to her party. Did you know about this?" There was a pause, then a sigh, the kind she used when she wanted to dodge a fight. "Oh, Scarlett, don't overreact. It's just a party. Space is tight, you know how it is." My grip tightened on the phone, my knuckles paling. "Tight? Mom, I saw Chloe's Instagram. She posted a guest list with over 90 names. Cousins I haven't seen in years, her new work friends, even her high school lab partner. And me, her sister, I'm the one who gets cut." Grace cleared her throat, her tone shifting to that patronizing calm I hated. "Sweetie, those people RSVP'd early. It's not personal. Don't make a big deal out of it." "Not personal?" The words echoed in my head, slicing deeper with every repetition. I was the one who drove Chloe to her first job interview when her car wouldn't start. I was the one who listened to her cry when she didn't get the call back, telling her she was enough. And now, I was supposed to swallow this like it didn't matter? I hung up without another word, my heart hammering like it was trying to break free. I scrolled through Chloe's Instagram, the guest list staring back at me like a betrayal carved in pixels. There were names I didn't even recognize, people she'd known for months, not years. My eyes stung, but I refused to cry. Instead, I opened my email, searching for something to ground me. That's when I found it, an old message from Chloe to a mutual friend, forwarded to me by mistake months ago. "Scarlett's great with design, but I didn't invite her to the team dinner. She's too intense, you know? Wouldn't fit the upscale vibe." I froze, my breath catching. It wasn't just this party. Chloe had been sidelining me for months, reshaping me into someone who didn't fit her shiny new life. The realization hit like a wave crashing over rocks. My sister didn't just forget me, she chose to erase me. I stood up, pacing the apartment, the rain outside mirroring the storm inside me. My eyes landed on a photo frame on the shelf, me and Chloe at her college graduation, her arm around me, both of us grinning. I'd paid for half her cap and gown because she was short on cash. Back then, her texts were full of "you're the best, Scar," and heart emojis. Now, those memories felt like lies. I wasn't angry at Chloe for excluding me. I was angry at myself for believing I was indispensable. For thinking family meant loyalty. I opened my laptop, my fingers moving before my brain caught up. I typed "solo beach trips California" into the search bar. Images flooded the screen. Sun-drenched shores, cozy cottages, waves that promised to wash away the hurt. I clicked on a listing for a beachfront cottage in Santa Cruz. Whitewashed walls, a private porch, a fireplace to warm the chilly nights. It was expensive, first-class flight, gourmet dining package, the works, but I didn't hesitate. For years, I'd spent money on Chloe's emergencies, on family crises that weren't mine. This time, I was investing in me. I booked the trip, my heart racing with a mix of fear and defiance. The rain outside slowed to a drizzle, as if the world was holding its breath. I glanced at my phone, Chloe's text still unanswered. I didn't owe her an explanation. I didn't owe any of them. I opened Instagram, snapped a photo of my packed suitcase, and typed a caption, "If I'm not wanted, I'm gone." I scheduled it to post during Chloe's party, when they'd all be too busy celebrating to notice me slipping away. Then I leaned back, the ocean's call already louder than the silence of my family's betrayal. For the first time in years, I felt like I was choosing myself. And I wasn't looking back. The Seattle cafe was alive with the clatter of cups and the low hum of conversation, the air thick with the scent of espresso and cinnamon pastries. I sat at my usual corner table, the one by the window where the morning light spilled across the polished wood. My latte sat untouched, steam curling up like a ghost. I'd come here to clear my head after Chloe's text last night, the one that cut me from her promotion party like I was an afterthought. But the hurt clung to me, heavy as the gray clouds outside. I stared at my phone, Chloe's words, "No room, sorry," burning into my brain. I was still reeling, trying to make sense of how my sister, the one I'd propped up through every crisis, could dismiss me so easily. Then I heard her voice. Chloe's voice, bright and careless, slicing through the cafe's chatter like a knife. She was at a table across the room, her back to me, her blonde hair catching the light as she leaned toward her friend, some coworker I didn't know. "Scarlett's always been too clingy," she said, her tone half laughing, like it was a joke. "She'd ruin the party's vibe, you know? Always fussing over details, acting like she's my mom." My breath caught, my fingers freezing around my coffee cup. The friend murmured something I couldn't hear, and Chloe laughed again. "Yeah, exactly." I told her there's no room. But honestly, I just want a night without her hovering. I felt my face burn, my heart slamming against my ribs. Clingy? Hovering? I was the one who stayed up until dawn perfecting her presentation slides, the one who drove across town to pick her up when her car died, the one who listened to her sob about her boss's criticism. And this was how she saw me, a burden, a buzzkill, someone to be managed. I wanted to stand up, to march over, and tell her exactly how many nights I'd sacrificed for her vibe. But my legs wouldn't move. I just sat there invisible, as my sister rewrote me into someone I didn't recognize. I grabbed my bag and slipped out of the cafe, the door's bell jingling behind me like a mocking cheer. The Seattle air was damp, the sidewalk slick with last night's rain. My chest felt tight, like I was drowning in the weight of her words. I walked without direction, my sneakers slapping against the pavement, until I stopped at a park bench overlooking the Puget Sound. The water was gray and restless, matching the storm inside me. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old texts from Chloe. "You're a lifesaver, Scar," she'd written when I sent her $300 for rent. "I'd be lost without you," she'd said after I edited her cover letter. Lies, all of them. Or maybe not lies. Just truths she'd outgrown, leaving me behind like an old coat. I opened my laptop, the Santa Cruz cottage listing still glowing on the screen. I'd bookmarked it last night in a fit of defiance, but now it felt like a lifeline. The cottage was perfect. Whitewashed walls, a porch with ocean views, a fireplace to chase away the chill. The package included a first-class flight, private surf lessons, even a gourmet dinner at a cliffside restaurant. It was extravagant, the kind of thing I'd never done for myself. I'd always saved my money for Chloe's emergencies, for family crises that somehow always landed on my shoulders. But not this time. I clicked book, my heart racing as I selected every upgrade. First class seat. Oceanfront view. No compromises. For once, I was choosing me. Back at my apartment, I rummaged through my desk, looking for a distraction. That's when I found it, a dusty USB drive labeled Chloe's Projects. I plugged it in and my screen filled with files, her promotion pitch deck, her portfolio, her company's holiday party invite. All designed by me, late at night, for free, because she'd begged and I'd said yes. I opened the pitch deck, the one that landed her the marketing lead role. Every slide was meticulous. Clean lines, bold colors, fonts I'd spent hours choosing. She'd sent me a heart emoji when I emailed it, nothing more. No thank you, no acknowledgement that I'd poured my soul into her success. I stared at the file, my mouse hovering over the delete button. My finger twitched, and with one click, it was gone. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I packed my suitcase, folding my favorite sundress, the one I'd bought last summer but never worn. The hurt from Chloe's words still lingered, sharp and raw, but something else was growing beneath it, a spark of rebellion. I wasn't just running away, I was rewriting the rules. I opened Instagram, snapping a photo of my packed bag against the backdrop of my rain-streaked window. If I'm not wanted, I'm gone. I typed, scheduling the post for tomorrow night, right when Chloe's party would be in full swing. They'd be clinking glasses, laughing, pretending I didn't exist. But they'd see me. They'd know I wasn't waiting for their permission to live. The next morning, I headed to the airport, my heart lighter than it had been in years. The rain had stopped, and the sky was a pale, hopeful blue. I checked in for my first-class flight, the agent smiling as she handed me my boarding pass. "Enjoy Santa Cruz, Ms. Harper," she said. I nodded, a small smile tugging at my lips. I would. I was done being the sister who fixed everything, who swallowed her pain to keep the peace. As I walked toward the gate, my phone buzzed, a text from my cousin Zoe. "Heard about the party. You okay?" I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I was already on my way to a place where I could breathe, where I could be Scarlett, not just Chloe's shadow. I boarded the plane, the engines humming with promise, and for the first time in forever, I felt like I was flying toward something, not away. The Santa Cruz sun was warm on my skin, the ocean stretching out like a promise I could finally believe in. I stood on the porch of my cottage, the whitewashed walls glowing in the late afternoon light, the air thick with salt and freedom. Inside, a fireplace crackled, and the wide windows framed waves that crashed with a rhythm that felt like it was beating just for me. I'd arrived that morning, the first-class flight still lingering in my mind, the plush seat, the flight attendant's smile, the champagne I'd sipped without apology. The drive from the airport had been a blur of golden beaches and palm trees, and when I stepped into this cottage, I felt something shift. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. Just my own. My phone buzzed on the wicker table, pulling me back to reality. I'd posted my beach selfie an hour ago, the one I'd scheduled to go live during Chloe's big promotion party back in Seattle. Me, windswept and grinning against the Pacific, captioned, "Not invited?" I make my own waves. I hadn't checked the reactions until now, and when I did, my screen was a battlefield. Chloe's message was first, all caps. "Scarlett, you're ruining everything. Take it down." My dad Michael followed, his words clipped, "You're tearing us apart over a party. Stop this." My mom Grace went for guilt. "Please, Scarlett, we're all trying to celebrate Chloe. Why make it harder?" I stared at their words, my thumb hovering over the reply button. But then I set the phone down, the ocean's roar louder than their accusations. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to explain. I tapped mute on their chats and felt a weight lift, like I'd cut a rope that had been strangling me for years. I slipped on my sandals and wandered down to the beach, the sand cool between my toes. A group of strangers had gathered around a bonfire, their laughter mingling with the crackle of burning driftwood. A guy with sun-bleached hair and a surfboard under his arm waved me over. "Hey, you look like you could use some company," he he said, his grin easy and warm. His name was Lucas, a surf instructor with pale blue eyes that seemed to see right through me. I hesitated, then joined them, sinking into a folding chair by the fire. The group was a mix: locals, tourists, a couple of college kids passing a guitar around. Nobody asked who I was running from, and I loved them for it. Lucas handed me a s'more, the marshmallow gooey and sweet. "First time in Santa Cruz?" he asked, leaning back on his elbows. "Yeah," I said, licking chocolate off my fingers. "First time doing a lot of things." He nodded, like he understood more than I'd said. "I came here 5 years ago," he told me, his voice low. "Left a family that thought I owed them everything. My time, my money, my sanity. Best decision I ever made." I looked at him, the firelight dancing across his face, and felt a pang of recognition. He wasn't just talking about a move. He was talking about escape. About choosing himself. I didn't tell him my story, but I didn't need to. His words were enough to make me feel less alone. Back at the cottage, I poured myself a glass of red wine and sank into the porch swing, the ocean's rhythm soothing the edges of my hurt. My phone buzzed again, and I almost ignored it, but the name caught my eye. Riley, Chloe's best friend from college. Her message was a bombshell. "Scarlett, I'm so sorry. Chloe told everyone you were too dramatic to invite, said you'd make the party awkward." I didn't know she lied. Resume was uploaded by the user. "The document has been removed by the request of the copyright holder." I stared at the screen, my heart sinking. Dramatic? Awkward? I'd been Chloe's rock, her cheerleader, her designer on call, and she'd turned me into some caricature to justify cutting me out. The lie stung worse than the exclusion itself, twisting my loyalty into something to be ashamed of. I set the phone down, my hands trembling. I wasn't the problem, they were. And I was done letting their version of me define who I was. I stepped inside, the cottage's warmth wrapping around me like a hug. The fireplace glowed, casting shadows on the walls, and I curled up on the couch with my wine, the glass cool against my palm. Lucas's words echoed in my head. Best decision I ever made. I thought about the years I'd spent being the good sister, the one who fixed everything, who never complained. And for what? To be labeled too intense, to be erased from a guest list like I was nothing. I wasn't hiding here in Santa Cruz. I was living, maybe for the first time. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through the windows, the ocean glinting like a sheet of diamonds. I made coffee, the rich aroma filling the cottage, and stepped onto the porch to watch the waves. My phone was quiet now, the muted chats a silent victory. I opened my camera, framing a shot of the sunrise, the sky streaked with pink and gold. I posted it to Instagram, my fingers steady as I typed. I'm not hiding, I'm living. I didn't check for likes or comments. I didn't need their validation anymore. As I sipped my coffee, another text from Riley popped up. "Party's a mess. Chloe's freaking out, Logan's in trouble. Wish you were here." I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "A mess, huh? Good. Let them deal with their chaos for once." I set the phone down and walked to the water's edge, the waves lapping at my feet. The horizon stretched endless and open, like a future I could finally claim. I wasn't just escaping, I was starting over. And whatever was happening back in Seattle, it wasn't my problem anymore. The Santa Cruz beach was alive with the hum of summer, waves crashing, seagulls squawking, and the distant laughter of kids building sandcastles. I stood on the shore, my toes sinking into the cool sand, the sun warming my shoulders. It was my third day in this paradise, and I was starting to feel like I belonged. My cottage, with its whitewashed walls and crackling fireplace, was my sanctuary, a place where I could breathe without the weight of my family's expectations. I'd spent the morning with Lucas, my surf instructor, who'd patiently coached me through my wobbly attempts to catch a wave. His easy grin and quiet wisdom, born from his own escape from a toxic family, made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in years. Later, I'd shared coffee with Victoria and David, a retired couple staying nearby, who swapped stories of their own rebellions against controlling relatives. Sometimes, Victoria had said, her eyes twinkling, "You have to burn the bridge to find the shore." I was starting to understand what she meant. I was back at the cottage, sipping iced tea on the porch, when my phone rang. It was Zoe, my cousin, the only one in the family who hadn't piled on the guilt after my beach selfie went viral during Chloe's party. I answered, expecting her usual dry humor, but her voice was urgent, almost giddy. "Scarlett, you won't believe what happened at Chloe's party last night," she said, barely pausing for breath. It was a total disaster. I leaned forward, my heart picking up speed. "What kind of disaster?" Zoe laughed, the sound sharp and delighted. "Logan, Chloe's precious boyfriend, got caught texting his ex in the bathroom. Chloe found the messages, flipped out, and smashed a wine glass on the floor. Screamed at him in front of everyone, then stormed out. Your mom was drunk, sobbing, saying it's all your fault for not being there to keep things calm. Can you believe that?" I let out a soft laugh, shaking my head. My fault? Of course. I wasn't even in the same state, but somehow I was the scapegoat for their chaos. Zoe wasn't done. Oh, and get this, Grandma Eleanor, of all people, stood up and tore into Chloe. Said, "You betrayed the sister who carried you, Chloe. Scarlett held this family together, and you threw her away." The room went dead silent. "I swear, Scarlett, you weren't there, but you were the star of the night." My breath caught, a warmth spreading through my chest. Grandma Eleanor, always so quiet, always choosing peace over conflict, had defended me. Her words felt like a lifeline, proof that someone saw my worth, even if Chloe didn't. I was still processing Zoe's call when a shadow fell across the porch. I looked up, and my stomach dropped. Logan stood there, his face flushed, his crisp polo shirt rumpled like he'd slept in it. Chloe's boyfriend, the golden boy who'd always treated me like an annoying tag-along, was here in Santa Cruz at my cottage. "Scarlett," he said, his voice tight, "we need to talk." I stood, crossing my arms, the ocean's roar behind me giving me courage. "What are you doing here, Logan?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing like a caged animal. "Chloe's a mess. The party fell apart and she's blaming me, but it's worse because you're not there. You always fix things. Talk to her, calm her down. Please, Scarlett, come back and help." I stared at him, my pulse racing. Fix things? The audacity of it hit me like a slap. I'd spent years cleaning up their messes. Chloe's meltdowns, my parents' arguments, their endless demands. And now, Logan had the nerve to track me down, expecting me to drop everything and play the peacemaker again. I stepped closer, my voice steady but sharp. "I'm not your cleanup crew, Logan. I'm not Chloe's either. You made your mess. Deal with it." His eyes widened, like he couldn't believe I'd said no. "Scarlett, come on, this is family." I cut him off, my words slicing through the air. Family doesn't lie about me to their friends. Family doesn't cut me out and call it vibe control. I'm done. He opened his mouth, then closed it, his shoulders slumping. Without another word, he turned and walked away, his footsteps fading into the sand. I sank back into my chair, my hands trembling but my heart steady. Saying no to Logan felt like breaking a chain I'd been dragging for years. The ocean glittered under the sun, its vastness a reminder that I was bigger than their drama. I thought about Grandma Eleanor's words, about Zoe's glee at the party's collapse. They'd built their celebration on my exclusion, and it had crumbled without me. The irony was almost funny, like a punchline I hadn't seen coming. That evening, I joined Lucas and the bonfire crew again, the fire's warmth chasing away the chill of Logan's visit. We roasted marshmallows, the guitar strumming softly as stories flowed. Lucas caught my eye, sensing something was off. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low. I nodded, managing a smile. "Just realizing some people don't deserve my energy." He clinked his beer bottle against mine. "To new beginnings, then." I clinked back, the words settling into me like a vow. Before bed, I opened my phone, the screen lighting up with more messages from Chloe. "You're so selfish, Scarlett," and my mom. "This isn't like you. Come home." I didn't reply. Instead, I posted a photo of the bonfire, the flames bright against the night sky, captioned, "I'm not the problem." Then I blocked them. Chloe, Mom, Dad, every voice that tried to pull me back into their chaos. My finger hovered over Logan's number, but I blocked him too, his pleading face flashing in my mind. I set the phone down, the cottage quiet except for the waves outside. I wasn't the sister who fixed everything anymore. I was Scarlett, and I was enough. As I crawled into bed, the ocean's rhythm lulling me, Zoe's text lingered in my mind. You were the star of the night. I smiled into the darkness. Let them fall apart. I was building something new right here, where the waves didn't care about their lies. And for the first time, I felt untouchable. The Santa Cruz morning was soft, the kind that felt like a gift. Sunlight spilled through the cottage's wide windows, painting the wooden floor in golden streaks. I sat on the porch, wrapped in a linen robe, my feet tucked under me, a steaming mug of coffee warming my hands. The ocean stretched out before me, its waves rolling in a steady, endless dance. I'd been here a week now, and every day felt like peeling back another layer of the person I'd forgotten I could be. The hurt from Chloe's betrayal, from my family's dismissal, still lingered, but it was quieter now, like a bruise fading under the skin. I wasn't running from them anymore. I was running toward myself. Yesterday's confrontation with Logan still echoed in my mind, his desperate plea, my firm refusal. Saying no had felt like reclaiming a piece of my soul. I'd spent the rest of the day with Lucas, riding waves until my muscles ached, laughing until my sides hurt. Later, Victoria and David, the retired couple I'd befriended, invited me for dinner at their rental, sharing stories of their own escapes from family expectations. You're not just surviving, Scarlett, David had said, raising his wine glass. You're thriving. His words stayed with me, a quiet affirmation that I was on the right path. I was scrolling through my phone, savoring the silence of my muted family chats, when a text from Zoe popped up. Big news, she wrote. Your mom's planning a family meeting next week to sort out your behavior. They're calling you the guest of honor. You coming? I laughed, the sound sharp against the ocean's hum. A family meeting? Typical. They'd turn my absence into a crisis, a performance where I'd be cast as the problem child who needed fixing. I typed back, my fingers steady. I'm done with your games, Zoe. Good luck with the mess. No hesitation, no guilt. I hit send and leaned back, the porch swing creaking softly. I wasn't going back, not to their drama, not to the role they'd written for me. I decided to extend my stay in Santa Cruz. 3 more days, I told myself, though part of me wondered if I'd ever want to leave. I called the front desk, and the receptionist, a cheerful woman named Mia, confirmed the cottage was free. You're loving it here, aren't you? She teased. I smiled into the phone. More than I thought possible. After hanging up, I signed up for a beach yoga class and a guided coastal hike, filling my days with moments that were mine alone. I started journaling again, something I hadn't done since college. In the leather-bound notebook I'd brought, I wrote, I'm not running. I'm choosing me, even when it's scary. The words felt like a vow, etched in ink and salt water. That afternoon, I was sipping a glass of rose at the beachfront cafe when my phone buzzed again. It was Mason, an old colleague from my graphic design days in Seattle. His message made my heart skip. Scarlett, saw your Santa Cruz posts, they're blowing up. A client reached out, raving about your work. Turns out, Chloe tried to trash your rep to them, saying you were unreliable. But your posts proved her wrong. They want you for a huge freelance gig down here. You in. I set the glass down, my pulse racing. Chloe had tried to sabotage me? The betrayal stung, but the victory was sweeter. My beach selfies, my defiance, had turned into a spotlight I hadn't expected. I typed back, count me in. Send the details. As I hit send, a slow smile spread across my face. Chloe's lie had backfired, and I was the one coming out on top. I spent the next few days in a rhythm that felt like freedom. Mornings were for yoga, the instructor's voice guiding me through poses as the ocean whispered in the background. Afternoons, I hiked the coastal trails with a small group, the cliffs and wildflowers stretching out like a painting. Evenings, I joined Lucas and the bonfire crew, swapping stories under the stars. Lucas told me more about his past, how he'd left his family after years of being their emotional punching bag. You're stronger than you know, he said one night, his eyes locking with mine. I nodded, feeling the truth of it settle in my bones. On my last evening, I sat on the cottage porch, the sky ablaze with pinks and oranges as the sun dipped into the sea. I opened my journal and wrote, "I'm not the sister who fixes everything. I'm Scarlett and I'm enough." The words felt final, like closing a book I'd been stuck in for too long. I picked up my phone, ignoring the flood of unread messages from my family, and opened my camera. I snapped a photo of the sunset, the ocean glowing like liquid gold, and posted it with a caption, "I'm home where I belong." No tags, no explanations. Just me, claiming my place in a world that didn't need their approval. I sipped my coffee, the mug warm against my palms, and let the ocean's rhythm fill the silence. My phone was off now, tucked away in a drawer. I didn't need to check for likes or replies. I didn't need their voices pulling me back. Mason's email with the freelance gig details was waiting in my inbox, a door to a new chapter one hadn't dared dream of. Maybe I'd stay in California, build a life here where the waves didn't care about my past. Or maybe I'd go somewhere new, somewhere that felt like this, like freedom. As the stars began to speckle the sky, I wrapped my robe tighter and leaned back, the porch swaying gently. The hurt from Chloe's lie, from my family's dismissal, was still there, but it was small now, a pebble in the vast ocean of who I was becoming. I wasn't the problem, and I never had been. I was Scarlett, designer, dreamer, survivor. And as the waves sang their endless song, I knew one thing for certain. I was home, not in a place, but in myself. And no one could take that away.